for a side, here is what we're going to do for that. And now we're going to need the Desmos calculator. So we're going to start by identifying our reference angle that we wish to use, which is the angle that they give you. If they give you more than one angle, you can take your pick of whichever angle you'd rather use. So I'm going to use the 57. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to label the sides based off of that angle. This is the opposite, this is the adjacent, and this is the hypotenuse. The next thing to do is to decide what you want to find. We're going to start with finding A. In order to find A, you think of the one you want, which is A here, and the one you already know, and I'm talking about sides. So the side that I already know is the 14, the opposite. So I need to use the adjacent and the opposite. So think about some old horse caught another horse, taking oats away. Think about which one you want, since you have adjacent and opposite that you'd like to use. So since I need to use O and A, I'm going to have to use the tangent function for finding the side that has an A for the variable there. So I'm going to do the tangent, and the ratio, that tangent, it always has to go with your angle measure that you're using for your reference angle, which in this case is the 57. So you'll write tangent 57. Now the tangent 57 is just a number. You could type it into the calculator right now and it would give you a number answer. Tangent of 57 is equal to the ratio of opposite over adjacent. The opposite side is 14 and the adjacent is the one with the label of letter A. So you write your setup like this. The next thing I like to do is to put the tangent 57 over 1 so that I see it as a proportion. People are really good at cross multiplying. So I'm going to think of it as cross multiplying. 1 times the 14 there, and then the tangent of 57 multiplies with the A. So you cross multiply, and you get A tangent 57. Whatever this is on the bottom, I always write it in the front of the tangent part, or whatever trig function you're using, and then 1 times 14 is 14. And you pause, and you think, is my variable alone? My variable is not alone right now, so I need to continue further. So to get the variable alone, remember that tangent 57 is just a number. We could go over here to Desmos, type functions, pick tangent, type 57. You'll see that it's just this number. It's like a super crazy decimal number, but it's just a number. So what we want to do is we want to divide both sides by the number that is tangent 57. So in the calculator, what we really want to do is we want to do 14 divided by the tangent of 57. So we're going to have 14 divide, push functions, get tangent 57, and it's giving us 9.09. Now your instructions on your homework is just, it's going to tell you where to round, so you always want to look for where you're wanting to round for each problem. I'm going to do 2 decimal places. So I'm going to say that A is approximately 9.09. So the squiggly equal sign is just meaning approximate, meaning that I am rounding right now and that that's not, my exact answer. To solve for B, I'm going to be using the hypotenuse. That's the one I want. And the one I had was the 14. I could use side A, but if I do, I'd like to use the whole answer, and it's pretty ugly, so I'm just going to use the 14 that I was given and the B that I wish to find. So since I'm using the opposite side and the hypotenuse, which is the 14 and the B, I need to find the trig function that uses O and H. That function is the sine function. So I'm going to set up the problem as sine of 57, sine of my angle. Your angle always goes with your trig function. And then the opposite over the hypotenuse. Again, put sine 57 over 1, cross multiply, 14 times 1, 14. B times sine 57, B sine 57. pause. Is B alone? It is not. We'll continue with dividing by sine 57 to get B by itself. So into the Desmos calculator here, we're going to do 14 divided by sine 57. 16.69. So B is approximately 16.69. So for both of these, we ended up dividing. We divided the 14 by the trig function we were using times the trig function of that angle that we had started with. Sometimes you will divide like we did here, and sometimes you will multiply. We're going to see some more problems here just to show you an example of a time that you would multiply. So on this problem, our reference angle is this 47 here. And every time you start a problem, you want to label the pieces of the triangle. So we have the opposite, because it's opposite from the 47, we have the hypotenuse here, and we have the adjacent over here. And so then you figure out which one you want to solve for first. So I'm going to begin with finding x, and you must use the side you know, which is the 12. Again, some old horse caught another horse, taking oats away, to remind myself of the rules there. And so I'm using the adjacent and the hypotenuse. So I got to find the function with adjacent and hypotenuse, and that's the cosine function. So the cosine of our angle 47 is equal to the adjacent, which is x, over the hypotenuse of 12. Put that over 1, cross multiply, so we're going to have 12 times cosine 47. And then x times 1 is x, and then you pause and you think, is my variable alone? And it is, so now you're ready to go to the calculator. So this is a time when you're going to multiply. So we're going to multiply 12 times cosine 47. 8.18 is our x value. Pretty easy. I love it when it's a multiply kind. To solve for y, the one we want, which is the y, the one we have, which is the 12, that is opposite and hypotenuse, and that means we're going to use a sine function. Sine of 47, opposite over hypotenuse. Put that over 1, cross multiply, 12 sine 47 equals y. Ready to go to the calculator. 12 sine 47. 8.78. Often the most popular question I get asked is, how do I know which trig function to use? And the way you know which trig function you want to use is by determining the side that you are given that you're going to use and the side that you wish to find. And then you look at, is that the opposite and hypotenuse? Is it the adjacent and hypotenuse? Or is it the opposite and adjacent? And that will tell you whether you want the sine, the cosine, or the tangent to get started. Remember that your angle always goes right next to the function that you're using, and the right side is the ratio of those two sides that you are relating. And then from there, you just cross multiply and you solve till you get your variable alone. And then it's all about pushing buttons in the calculator.